Well, I want to thank everyone for coming, and I want to thank the wonderful folks at Xposure for hosting another projections event, which is really wonderful. We're meeting photographers from all over the world, so thank you very much for doing that. Today, we have a wonderful young photographer who's emerging and doing really, really powerful work, María Cataldo, and I'm so glad to have met you, and tell us your story.
Thank you, everyone, and thanks to you for inviting me, for having me here. My name is Jimena Borrazas. I born in Montevideo, Uruguay, South America. And in 2018, I decided to move to my base to Barcelona to continue studying photography. It's where I am based until now. And my life started in the marketing field. I studied public relations and marketing in my country. And then in 2018, I made a long trip and I realized that I wasn't proud of anything and I felt empty. So I decided to switch and to start studying photography. So in 2019, I moved my base to Barcelona. And my first project was about homeless people in the Gothic neighborhood. This project took me 2 years, and I interviewed more than 80 homeless people. And then when the war when the war started in Ukraine, I decided to travel to the Polish border first, and then I entered 9 times. And
From covering this homeless issue to going to a war-torn zone in Ukraine, that's a pretty intense jump.
Yeah, it is.
Right. So So what gave you the courage, the desire? I had to go.
I don't know. I just felt I need to go. I need to go. I hadn't any contact at that time. I didn't knew how to put a tourniquet even. Of course, no HIFA training, no anything.
Just all in.
Yeah. I just decided. I said, why not?
Yeah.
I need to go. And I went. And first to the Polish border was my first work covering refugees crisis. Mm. And National Geographic Spain published this reportage. So it was my first article in international press. Right. And then I entered 9 times in Ukraine. And in 2023, I decided to go to travel to Ethiopia. That is my project about that.
And the Ukraine experience gave you the taste and you wanted more of it and different, and were you traveling alone? I mean, how did you handle all the logistics, with a fixer and places to stay, because you weren't part of that network just yet?
Well, being freelancer is tough.
Yeah.
Because you don't have money and resources most part of the time. And most part of the time, you just travel, you put your money, and you don't know if you will have this money back. So it's just you need to chase the topics that are important for you. Mm. And Ukraine gave me this sense of I'm doing the right thing, not because it's relevant what I'm doing, because I feel that it's right for me. I want to be here. I realize that I want to be with the people at their most vulnerable moment. Mm. To be able to share their stories.
So all reasoning goes away. Everything is led by the heart.
Yes.
That's a photojournalist.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you've been to Ukraine 9 times then.
So in the middle of this time, because I started covering Ukraine in 2022 when the full-scale invasion started. So I just spent a month and a half, and then going in, going out all the time and covering other places. So in 2023, in February, I was on board on a humanitarian rescue ship called Aitamari. It's from Basque Country. And I was talking with a nurse. Her name is Marta, is my friend. And I said, Marta, I want to go to Gaza, because I was planning to go to Gaza at that time. And she said, I think you should go to Tigray. You will be much more helpful. Because Gaza is covered and they have amazing photographers and amazing journalists. And in Tigray, no one is there, or very few people. And I started asking myself, what is Tigray? Like many people ask me again and again and again nowadays. So I knew at that time that something happened in Tigray, a civil war, but I wasn't aware of the magnitude of this. So I started Googling, and I came across with a reportage of Arte TV channel focused on famine and displaced people. And I saw an image of a person dying, literally dying in front of the camera because of famine. And I said, I cannot believe it. This is considered the bloodiest war in this century, and no one talked about this. So I started pitching to the biggest media this topic, the post-war situation focused on famine.
But just let me stop you for a second. But that's pretty intense. I want to go here, and someone plants a seed, and you do your research, and now you switch. Is that something that's sort of about, does it say something about you in that I'm open to ideas, I'm open to getting a story out that nobody else is doing? You know, what is it about you that allows you to do that?
I don't know. I always follow my feelings and all the things that I do in my life, not only related with photo.
Yeah.
But if I feel something inside me, I cannot stop feeling it. I need to do it.
Okay. That's perfect. Yeah. And then once you're committed to doing it, you're all in.
Yeah. So so I start pitching this. We have a visitor. I start pitching this, and those who reply, because this is another issue, to get a response from the editors, it's challenging. And those who reply say no for two reasons. We don't work with freelancers in war zones, and this is not relevant enough. A genocide is not relevant enough.
I'm sure that was the words that said, I'm going.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
I read between the lines. I could see that. Now knowing you, that's where we're going.
Yeah. So, I found the money in other places because I had, at that time, I had another job to cover my expenses. And I proposed it to my colleague Edgar. He's a photojournalist from Spain. And we just decided to go to Tigray. We were one of the first freelancers entering in Tigray after the war. And we went with the idea to cover famine and displaced people. But while we were working at the 70 Care IDP Center, that is the biggest IDP camp in Tigray, is based in Mekelle, capital of Tigray, we came across with a lady. She was following us with a kind of paper at her hand. And when our translator started reading this paper, he said, this is a medical record saying that she faced mass raping. And she was crying, and she said, please help us, because no one from abroad come here. And that was the turning point.
The light bulbs go off, and great.
Yeah.
People needed you, and it was perfect timing. Okay, so tell us.
So this is one of the survivors of sexual violence as a weapon of war in Tigray. I always change the names of those ladies because of the stigma of the society that is huge in order to protect their identity. So we can call her Medhin. This lady was raped several times by different men during the war, soldiers. So when she returned to her home, she said to the father what happened. And the father looked at her and he said, you are not my kid anymore. You need to leave the house. And because her uncle, he helped her, so she moved to his house, and she had the chance to live at least in a house. Otherwise, she will ended up at the street or in a refugee camp.
So that really signifies her family was a pretty tight family before, right? That the uncle would take her in as his niece, right? Okay. Yeah. It's so delicate, right? The balance between having a home, being homeless, and now on the street, and your life is really over.
Yeah, and this is something that's still happening nowadays in Tigray, and many people keep this, what happened with them, as a secret because they fear the reaction, not only the reaction of the neighbors or the society, but also the reaction of their family.
And families, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, and we'll get back to it, but I want to make a note about identity, you're not using her name.
No.
Right. Okay. So good.
If they ask me, because I have the case in Ukraine, so the second chapter of this project is in Ukraine and is focused on male survivors of sexual violence, that this is a huge taboo.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And some of them, they ask me, please, I want to show my face. And for me, my identity is very important. So if I have a case, like they ask me and they said, I want to have my real name, I respect that. Otherwise, I always change to protect their identity because I know about the fear and how dangerous can be for them.
Good.
So this is a letter.
Right.
This is part of other photos as well. And the story of this lady, she gave birth twins during the war in Tigray, northern Ethiopia. And 1 week after she gave birth twins, a group of 10 and above soldiers entered her home and raped her by one. And when they finished, they insert a plastic bag inside her vagina that this reached her womb because her vagina canal was open because of the babies. And she carried this 2 years because of the stigma of the society. So
And had no idea physically that it was there.
she was in pain. And she told me that while she was peeing, sometimes she could see pieces of condoms, but she wasn't aware that this bag was inside her. So because the borders of Tigray were blocked 2 years, so it wasn't possible to get medicines or so on, was a huge lack of medicines and supplies for the hospitals. 6 months after this attack, she managed to obtain some painkillers. And she took this for all of this time until she arrived 2 years later to the hospital. She was literally dying. I interviewed.
So I have it. So she has the twins. She's raped. Is her family throwing her out now? What is that part of this?
So she nowadays lives with her mother.
Okay.
In a rural village, in a house with the kids.
Okay.
So they are alive. They are okay, if we can say that.
Yeah.
But she is still facing a lot of healthy problems because of this.
Yeah.
So
And
she's
her
still
husband?
under treatment. She never mentioned her husband.
Okay.
So if they do not tell me something, I don't ask because it's sensitive.
Right. So you have to feel the situation.
Yeah.
If they want to tell you, they tell you.
Yeah.
They don't. You let it go.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So this is in Tigrinya, the language, and say something like, we are proud of rape because we want to end the ethnia. We will prevent the ladies to give birth. They will be infertile. And they use the genitals as a mailbox. It's crazy.
So they leave the note in there with the idea that you'll get a disease, you'll get sick, and you won't be able to have more children. So is there any connection between the hospital letting someone know that this woman just gave birth? Like, how did that work out that they knew that she had given birth, and this would be a good opportunity? I apologize for that idea, that opportunity to do this to her.
No, they just enter the houses in remote villages, and this was the way that they behave during those years.
Okay.
Still happening nowadays, because even if the war ended in 2022, I was in March last year there in 2025, because the Tom Sawyer grant, they gave me the money to come back and to continue the work. And I was talking with my friends at the Genocide Commission, and they told me we received very recent a case from the occupied territory, because nowadays 40% of the territory is still under occupation. And many people live there, and they receive a case of a lady that she faced mass raping, and when the soldiers finish, they insert a dead snake inside her vagina.
Wow.
Yes.
It's almost you wonder, why wouldn't they just kill the person instead of making them? I mean, and that's a crazy idea, but this whole, it's sort of medieval torture, right? Medieval torture to do this to someone.
Yeah, because the goal was, first of all, it was a ethnia cleansing. They want to end the ethnia. Second, sexual violence is a powerful weapon to humiliate communities and to condemn them because of the stigma, because it's an invisible scar that the person, even if he's living in peaceful times, is still in war inside, because the healing process is very long.
Yeah. Okay. And they've thought, of course, they've thought that all through, right, in the most rudimentary ways. But this is a way to continue the terrorism and the torture, on and on and on.
Yes.
And
So, yeah, this is an X-ray. So, at my last trip, I came across with the X-rays. I asked these X-rays on 2024, but they couldn't find at the system at the hospital. So when I had the chance to come back, I went straight to the hospital and I said, I need those X-rays. And they found the X-rays. So on this X-ray, we can see what I explained before.
Yep.
The X-ray of the lady with this plastic bag inside her womb. And what we can see here are nail clippers. So inside this bag, they put not only the letter, but also nail clipper, stones, and sand.
so this nail clipper is implanted there, and she can't feel it, right, for a certain period of time, and then this comes out, right? What is the reaction in the hospital, on and on and on, and how did you get access to the X-rays?
So I interviewed 2 nurses that removed this at that time, and they told me that was horrible because of the smell. If you stand like next to the lady, you was able to smell this terrible smell.
Yeah.
And when they start removing everything, they told me that they first saw the condoms, so they start pulling out, and they need to stop because the smell was so horrible that they start throwing out the doctors. And yeah, so one of the nurses said that when they removed those objects, rusted objects, some of them, they were green, other black because of the infection.
Wow. And what do they have the wherewithal to keep this as evidence?
Yes, so they have a box inside the hospital at the storage, and they keep some of the objects. And I asked them, why you didn't keep all the objects? Because this is very important. And they said, because our personnel is traumatized.
Oh, is that right?
So they
Wow.
cannot manage this. We keep some of them, but not all. So imagine how many times they face this.
Yeah. That's so now you're listening to this, and what is this doing to your mind as far as I must continue? What more do we have to do?
I think it's very important to talk about the Irai because it's challenging. As I told you, it's considered the bloodiest war in this century, but very few people talk about that. So it's a constant double effort that you to do. First, to explain what is Tigray, because people have no idea,
Right.
like me, when I started on this. And then to explain to them what happened, the use of sexual violence as a weapon of war. That is not the only country. This happened a lot, starting in Balkans, then it's happening in Ukraine, it's happening in Sudan, it's happening in Palestine, in Ethiopia, in many places. So it's not that isolated case. The use of rape as a weapon of war is very old.
Yes, but this piece is another level.
Yes.
Right. So when you came upon this revelation, it must have been, now I have a responsibility to continue and to expose it.
Yeah.
Right. And what does that feel like?
Well, I feel the commitment. I have 2 options because it's a tough topic to deal with. And the real tough moments start, of course, listening the survivors, but when you are editing, you remember again and again. And when I see the pictures, I remember again and again those conversations. But I have 2 options. Or be in my bed crying with a depression, that is very valid because it's complicated to deal with, or to try to obtain the strength to keep documenting this. Otherwise, they will not be able, or yes, but they need another speaker.
Right. And with that it becomes your responsibility.
Yeah, it
right?
is.
I mean, it's a very big step to take over because you can't undo what you now know.
Of course, I
Right.
feel this responsibility, and I found, I realized about this responsibility because of the impact caused by the Guardian article. When they published those X-rays, so yesterday I was explaining
Yeah.
why was a key point, a turning point, the use of this more forensic approach. So I started this in 2023. At that time, no one wants to publish this. So I started using my social medias as the platform because I study marketing, so I'm quite good at it. And then in 2024, Deutsche Welle gave me the opportunity to travel again to document the story of a kid with a scar. I think we have the picture. Yeah, this kid. So I met this kid in 2023. And her mother explained me the story. They were both walking in Kafta, through Kafta, a rural village near the Eritrean border, both of them. And then four soldiers approached to them. They start saying to the mother, you have a man in the TPLF. TPLF is the political party in Tigray that they want the independence, as Eritrea got the independence a couple of years ago. So that's why the civil war started, a fight between the central government, Abiy Ahmed, now the prime minister, and the TPLF. And these ladies say, no, I don't. And they said, yes, you have. So they start raping the mother in front of the kid. The kid starts shouting and then decided to throw boiling water on her chest and put knives on her stomach. So I pitched this story to Deutsche Welle and they won the story. So that's why I returned in 2024 and they published the story. And we had a great impact because it was very nice to see this story that reaching the light, right? Because
And just, it's an interesting thing from a photojournalist standpoint. Now you have something that I want to publish. So now they'll return your call, get us more, because it's new, it's interesting, it's different, it's compelling, right?
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing from a social media or just from a media standpoint. You now have content that they've never seen, and they didn't pay for you to go, right? This is, again, being a freelancer, it's just an interesting piece of our business that you have to go and find these stories, and now everyone loves you.
And also, I mean, even if they pay you, they will not cost your trip because the trip is much more expensive. So
For sure.
you need to keep putting money to cover the stories that matter for you. Yes. But it's not, I mean, this is not relevant in this story. So the relevant thing is I published this story in 2024. And in 2025, as I told you, I had a chance to come back because of the Stoller grant. And during this trip, I found the X-rays. So The Guardian published this article, and the impact was huge. Right. Huge, but huge. I mean, I gave a talk at the British Parliament. I gave a talk at the Scottish Parliament about the platform campaign for justice and accountability. They reached to me to launch a campaign for justice for the women of Tigray. Civilians around the world, in Brazil, in Canada, they send me mails through my website saying, oh my God, I read your article, The Guardian. I had no idea about Tigray. I want to donate for the women of Tigray. For me, it was a shock. And I started asking myself, why, if we are talking about two big medias that are very known, are very famous, they reach audiences, both of them, they are very professional. It's not that one is better than the other. Why I had two different impacts? So I started asking people, not only involved in journalism, but with different backgrounds, right? What's the picture that shocks you the most? And all the people said the X-rays. Yeah. And I said, why? I started asking myself again, why?
And that goes back to identity.
Yes.
That's why I was making the big deal about early on with the identity. Here we go.
Yes. And so why? And I got two answers to this. First of all, because on an X-ray you cannot see the skin color.
Yes.
And this could be your womb, your mother's womb, or your sister's womb in all the world. I mean, in US, in Canada, or whatever is a place.
Universal.
You cannot see the ethnia, you cannot see the religion. That is very important. And also because when you have a testimony, you have two options, believe or not. But if you have an X-ray, this is a fact, and you can't deny this.
And that's got to be, I mean, as this is rolling out, you're watching this as it's your project, but you're also over here watching it from above and thinking, I mean, this is unbelievable, right? And you're coming to these realizations of this piece, then this piece. And that's why, how intense must that be for you? My God.
Yeah. Yeah, for me it was crazy to understand this, but was very important and interesting because this gave me the opportunity to add more countries, because I realized also that this is a perfect format to talk about this and to add more countries to make a global project and to understand that the use of sexual violence is a weapon of war, no matter the borders. And in the narrative, will fit because it's an X-ray, so it could be whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have more X-rays here, and this is the case of a lady that she also faced mass raping, and they broke her arm in two pieces. So she took so long to go to the hospital because she was on fear to tell the story to the doctors that they need to insert this metal to fix the arm.
Right.
So there are so many cases, and this is just the tip of the iceberg because this is still happening nowadays.
And being that it's the tip of the iceberg, this is what makes you have to continue. Because so now you're really at a different point in the storytelling. You're compelled and you're responsible to continue. You can't just stop now.
No.
Right? It's now in your heart and in your soul. That's an intense place to find yourself as a young photojournalist, that this is now something else.
Yeah, for me, it's mandatory. I cannot abandon them.
Yeah.
And it's mandatory to keep adding more countries. Of course, Tigray for me is very important because it was the first, and I know that they are not receiving enough help because of the end of USAID was very bad for all over the world, but mostly for Tigray because they really make the difference at that time. And it was not only the use of sexual violence on the insertion of foreign bodies, but also the spread of HIV. And nowadays, because USAID is not providing anymore those pills, they cannot afford this because they are displaced people without job, and they don't have the chance to buy this at the pharmacies. So my colleagues and my friends at the hospital, at the Genocide Commission, they told me that they have some cases that these people ended up committing suicide because they lose of hope.
Yeah, very sad. Okay. We have a few minutes, so continue.
Okay. So this is another case. Her name is not the real name again, Haila. She was kidnapped to a military Eritrean base, and about 14 soldiers raped her one by one. And when they finished, they decided to throw acidic substance on her head. She's very young. I cannot remember exactly, but I think she's 22 years old. And she told me that she cannot have a normal life because she's on itchy all the time, and she cannot afford the surgery. So this is another example that even if it's a peace time nowadays in Tigray, she's still on war because she cannot have a normal life. This is another case. This lady, she was raped in front of her 13-year-old kid. Then they cut with a scissor her private parts. They wrap her in plastic and then set fire. And they kidnapped the kid. And she told me she has no idea where is her son. This is another case. She was raped 2 times by 2 different soldiers, and she gave birth 2 times. So you can see the baby at her back, and the other is hiding in front of her. And she told me that she cannot look at them, at their faces, and feel that they are her kids, and she wants to put them in adoption.
Because she sees the face of the rapist.
Yes. Well, this is another case, and this lady is lucky enough because she is receiving support from Don Bosco. It's an organization from Italy. It's a Catholic organization. And they run a safe house for a certain number of survivors of sexual violence, and she's one of them. And her story is very painful as the others, but nowadays she have this support. She's living in a place with a bed with other ladies that share their stories. So it's a kind of safe environment for her, if we can say this.
Share stories.
Yes. Well, this is another of the x-rays with nails inside her stomach. So the hospital, the director of the Eider hospital, that he is my friend, Dr. Abraha, he told me that when they received this case, they weren't sure, because if you see the nails, they are a little bit up. So they weren't sure if they forced her to swallow the nails or if they insert through her genitals.
Wow. So where do we go from here? What are you doing? What's your goal?
My goal is to cause a real impact. I don't want to be just a photographer. That is completely fine to go there to take pictures and publish and finish. I want to cause a good impact for them, because they are part of my life, and I feel the responsibility. I want to reach politicians. I want to encourage them and to chase them for them to make changes, because I don't have these tools. I don't have this power. I'm just a photographer. And what I can do is to document this and put this in front of their eyes. But are them the ones that needs to make the real changes?
Right.
That's my goal.
Okay. Well, that's a perfect way to end this. I cannot thank you. I cannot tell you how proud everyone here is about your success and your informing us of what's going on. And as you know, there's many of us here who are going to get on the train and help and try to do what we can do to to get this message out, so that you can continue to inform everyone and the right people to help stop this.
Thank you so much.
And thanks everyone here at Xposure for giving us the facilities. So we appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.